All right. Thank you, Carey, for being here. I'm Melody Meyer. And for those of you who are watching this on the replay, I don't know if you know this, but October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm excited because I've got a whole bunch of things scheduled for this month to bring greater awareness to cancer in general, breast cancer specifically. And I've got a dear friend, Carey, who's just had a crazy experience this last year. And I can't wait for you to tell us all about it. Carey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Now tell me about this Carey J thing. I don't know you as Carey J. Is that your Twitter handle? Is that what it is?
It actually is. That's my first and middle name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have the App Chicks Twitter handle too, but I usually use this one.
Okay. So yeah, why don't you tell people a little bit about your business, the App Chicks?
The App Chicks was founded February of 2011. So actually over 4 years ago, and specialize in developing mobile marketing strategies for small businesses, entrepreneurs, and I develop mobile apps full-time and focus mostly on fitness, even golf-related apps, of course, and anything that's useful to solve everyday challenges. So it's very challenging, and it has been. And then this year I had a bigger challenge that I had to deal with.
Well, that's how I met you, is you being the app chick.
Yeah.
We talked about that. So are you very active on Twitter?
No, more active on Instagram, I guess. And I'm actually the app chick on Instagram, but it's mostly the journey from this year.
Yeah.
And
For those of you who are in the room right now, I know there's just a few of us, but if you tell a little bird over in the left-hand column there, it'll tweet it out to all your peeps about what we're doing right now.
I did do that about 2 minutes ago.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. So why don't you tell us, really take us through this journey that you've gone through this last year, from when you first found out about it and, or maybe what you were going through, experiencing, how it all started.
Right. It actually started maybe, let's see, what month is it? October. So in about 2 months, it'll be, a year since I first found my mom. But I was I live in Sacramento. Home is.
Hang on, there's a real loud, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry. So about 10 months ago, is that right?
Yeah. So in December of last year, I went back to Minnesota for 2 weeks to spend time with family. I usually go back every year, and at least once. This time has been an exception. But I was actually home, and I flew back on a red eye on December 20th. I landed. I went to a family Christmas on my dad's side, which I actually haven't spent Christmas with in over 7 years because I usually didn't get there at the same time. But I had this conversation with my aunt, and she was telling me that we had all this family history with, and that I should get tested for the BRCA1 gene, which makes you 8 out of 10 people are more likely to get breast cancer if you have that gene. And I didn't realize all this history was there. And the reason my aunt was researching it, because her daughter was diagnosed 6 months earlier.
Oh, okay.
So
is that how she found out about the gene to begin with?
Well,
when her daughter went in?
I think it just became more top of mind, more aware. And we didn't realize that my grandma passed when she was 47. We think it may have been ovarian, but I didn't realize that she had 8 or 9 sisters that all had ovarian or breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
So it's really important, I guess, to really dig into your family history if you think there's something there. Because I was kind of told over the years that there was possibly something, but I didn't know any details until December. And so I was telling my aunt, and I remember she told me how healthy and happy, excuse me, over a cold, how healthy and happy I looked that day. And we took a picture, and, we were talking about all this health issues. I'm like, that doesn't sound good at all. Get it checked out as soon as I get back from Minnesota, back to California. but that was going to be 2 weeks from that date. And
it was really just to check out because you had this gene, or to see if you had the gene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tested.
Okay.
But of course, being me, I just started checking, and because I'm usually pretty aware and do the annual exams and then check myself, but I started feeling more like checking out my breasts more, just being more thorough. And I found a lump within 2 days of that conversation.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm staying at my mom's, and I just told her, I said, well, Mom, I think I found something. And I could actually grab it with my 2 fingers and move it. And it's just crazy. And so kind of, worried thinking about it, but then just put it out of my mind because I planned on it being nothing. And I couldn't do anything until I got back to California in 2 weeks anyway. And I could actually put my shoulders back and I could see it popping out. So it was like almost 2 centimeters when they took it out. But
wow.
Yeah. So it was really crazy. And yeah.
So you got back to California.
Yeah.
And you made an appointment.
Yeah.
And what were you making an appointment for, really?
I just went to my family doctor. So that's always the first step. Say, hey, I found this lump. What I do? Can you look at it? Can you tell if it's anything? They did a quick look. And the crazy thing is, I had my annual exam just 2 months earlier in October in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and there's nothing. Like there was nothing. I don't know if it was that aggressive.
Did you have a mammogram or just a?
No, I'm not old enough. I mean, I just turned 39 in June.
Okay.
So mammograms don't start till 40. But then, so I get into my doctor appointment and I tell him I have a lump, so he looks at it and he's able to feel it and move it. And it's not typical for a tumor to be cancerous if you can actually move it. Right. It usually has tentacles and things like that. So all he told me was, yeah, there's definitely something there, which, yeah, I knew because I could grab it.
No shit, Sherlock.
So he instantly set me up for an ultrasound and a mammogram. I got in 2 days later. So I was happy about that and let Mom know. And, at this point, I wasn't posting anything on Facebook, wasn't sharing because I'm like, oh, it's nothing. It's going to be nothing. Doctor says it's probably benign, but we want to check it out to be sure, of course. And he even said,
this is the beginning of January now.
January 5th or 8th is when I got home. I was in the doctor by January 8th, I think.
Okay. And
then had mammogram by January 10th. So I took action right away, which is something I recommend for anyone. If there's any suspicion, just get in there. And so we got but during his appointment, he said, well, usually if they're benign or we think they're benign, some people don't take them out unless it bothers them. And I'm like, no, it bothers me. I want to out no matter what, because even if they're benign, they could grow, get bigger, and just leave a bigger scar later. And I just couldn't imagine if I, just said, no, I'm good. Leave it. So
I like lumps in my breasts
that
pop out.
Great. But so I did the mammogram, and the results came back from that mammogram. I think they showed me right away. But being that breast tissue is actually more dense in younger women, so it showed absolutely nothing at all. So,
sorry, your mammogram showed nothing?
Right. So that's why they set me up with a mammogram and ultrasound. So even that big tumor, which is, about 2 centimeters, what they took out, the cancer tumor is actually 1.7, which kept me in stage 1 at the end. But anyway, the ultrasound showed something, and all they said was, yes, we see there's something there. There's no tentacles growing out, which would, immediately signal that it was cancerous. They just said, well, we're going to have to biopsy it. There's either core biopsy, which is surgery, they go and take it out, fine needle aspiration. And I said, oh, well, I just want it out. But if you decide to take it out, they also need to know, they should know if it's cancerous beforehand so that they can take extra margin and also take lymph nodes out at the same time to see if it's spread.
Okay.
And so we set up surgery for January 28th. And then we did a fine needle aspiration. My breast surgeon talked me into doing a test right before so that we could do those extra things if needed. And we actually delayed the surgery by maybe 15 minutes waiting for those results. So I was out of it.
When they did the aspiration, you were...
Well, I did the aspiration the day before.
Okay.
The right before surgery, they kind of sedated me and I was out, so I didn't know the results of it. He just said, well, when they come in, we're going to take extra if it's there. And so I came out of it, and I was pretty alert, and I just remember him saying, it looks like what we thought it was benign. It didn't look cancerous, or, I feel like I was alert, but so I came out of it feeling confident. I was in the clear, and because it looked like what he planned on it being, benign. And the fine needle aspiration, the date that we took the day before, didn't show any reason to believe that it was cancerous either.
Okay, so let me just recap for some people who have just come in the room. So you feel a lump after talking about this with your aunt, that you have a big history in your family for cancer. And so then you find a lump, you go to the doctor, but because you can move it, they're not that worried about it. And they do a mammogram and it doesn't show up. They do an aspiration of it and it still doesn't show that it's cancerous.
Yeah, well, the ultrasound confirmed that something was there and that
something was there. Well, yeah, and physically something was there, but it's not showing up on the typical tests that people are used to. Yes.
But they couldn't 100% say it was benign or cancerous, and we'll get it out and figure out what it is. Cut it out.
So they did take it out in that surgery?
They did, but since the fine needle aspiration, so that's one thing I would always recommend doing a core biopsy, which is they take a little bit more breast tissue out, which is, from my personal experience, because later, if you talk about it more in detail, I actually did a core biopsy on a smaller section on my left breast. The tumor is on my right, and then we found a different cancer in my left breast. And we found that by doing a core biopsy. So there's a fine needle they just poke you in maybe 3 different spots on the tumor. Core biopsy, it's like a little gun trigger, and they take
a piece of it. Yeah.
I would, from that, I guess, get, a better idea of what's going on. And they did in my case. But so I thought I was in the clear, and that was my first Facebook post on January 28th. I said, I just had a good time. Not a good time, but they treated me really good at the surgery center I went to. And the doctor even gave me a word, is a fibrinoid edema or something. I looked it up, and I actually pasted that in there, and it means it's non-cancerous. And so I had a discussion with him about it on what we thought it was and that I was good to go. And I said, so do you want me to, I had a business trip planned the very next week, half a week. I said, do you want me to come in and go over the path reports before I go on my business trip to Baltimore, or can I just come in after that? He's like, after, it's fine. It kind of made me feel like it was a formality. Okay, good. Yeah. And then I leave for my business trip. 3 or 4 days later, I get to San Diego, sitting in the airport waiting for my layover to go to Baltimore, and his office calls me and says, we need you to come into the office tomorrow. I said I can't. I'm on my way to Baltimore.
Hello. Told you.
Yeah. And she's like, well, 1 second. I just said, okay. And I only have about 30 minutes to my flight boards. I said, okay. So
you're at the airport.
I'm waiting at the gate. There's hundreds of people standing. There's standing room. I actually have a chair, and then so I'm sitting there, and and she said, 1 minute, and then the doctor came on the phone, and he said, you were supposed to come in to go over your path report. I said, no, but you said it would be okay if I came in after. And he just said, well, they found cancer. I'm like, what? And I remember thinking, I'm like, why are you joking about this?
Yeah.
This is not funny.
Not funny.
Why would you call me and tell me this? It's like, what do you mean? And then instantly tears started rolling down my face, and there's people around. I'm like, I thought, and I even told him, I thought you said, he's like, I said it probably was benign. Like, I don't know, but we need to, it's like, well, just make an appointment for Tuesday. I'll come in then. I'm not going to die before Tuesday. So anyway, it could have easily made it to where.
So then you got on the plane, Carey?
Yeah, I mean, it was on my calendar.
Oh, it was on my calendar. Oh my gosh.
I wasn't.
Were you a wreck?
I mean, I wasn't halfway there. But I started, I'm thinking, what do I do now? And then, so I just a few days ago, I looked back at my journal notes from that day, which I'll share like later next month. But anyway, I was like, shit, I just told everyone on Facebook I was fine. And so
that's what you were worried about?
No, I'm like, I need to tell people, like, I need to talk to someone. I didn't know who to call because I didn't know who was available. And I started texting family, friends, and I put the Facebook post up. And I'm like, well, when your doctor tells you it's benign, you should wait until you get your path report. So, and then your friends started texting me and calling me. And, I had about 20 minutes till I got on the plane. So while I'm boarding in line, I'm talking to my brother crying, talking to a friend crying, and just like, and my coworkers even told me, well, if you want to, come back and not go on that trip, that's fine. I'm like, no, I've been looking forward to this. I wanted to go. It'll be, I'm not canceling this. And so I had a 5-hour trip to San Diego. And the night before, my brother was actually, him and his wife were pregnant with their 5th baby, a baby boy. And so I was actually, the night before, I actually started crocheting a baby blanket because my plan was, I have 5 hours to work on it. And he was going to be born in the next month or so. And so I had that there, and yeah, it was a rough flight. So I, had a hat on and thing around my eyes, and so in between sobbing, I'd take a break and work on the baby blanket, and there's probably tears in the blanket. But it kept my mind off of things because it was really rough. The best thing about that is I had a friend waiting for me in Baltimore who picked me up. And it was already planned because he lived there, and so yeah, I at least had someone to talk to when I got there.
Yeah. So then you were there for a couple of days only, and then
only till Sunday.
Okay. So then you came back, and what happened then?
I just came back and went over the path report, and and they always recommend that you bring someone to all these doctor appointments. So that's what I did because it's a little foggy, and so I had a lot of conversations with my breast surgeon, Dr. O'Malley, very nice guy. And, he took the time to sit down with me and really explain things, answer questions, and was really caring. He was just kind of delivered in an abrupt way. And so but it was, went over like all the options, but you can't think about all the options and and like everything. There's like so many variables. You have to take it really step by step. And just like we do in business, we have these huge projects and we're trying to figure out what the outcome is. Well, just do step 1. You can't control what happens in the end. You can control what happens, in between, and take every step to get that goal. And so the next thing was, well, that surprised the hell out of both of us. So what do we do now? Well, we go in for another ultrasound and then an MRI with contrast and do a full chest scan and figure out, because when we're going to go in and cut, we're going to cut once. We're not going to go in and cut pieces out here and there.
Right.
I was waiting on results from BRCA1. If I was positive, it would be an easy decision. I would do a bilateral mastectomy because there's such a great chance of it coming back if you are. And the other option was if I have cancer on the other side, which we had no reason to believe there's going to be cancer on the other side. And so we did.
You hadn't found anything there.
What's that?
You hadn't found anything on the other side yet.
No, because I did an ultrasound, so nothing was picked up on the left side. It was the tumor, the one that I was pointing out on the right side. And then since that came back cancerous, he just said, well, we need to do a full MRI with contrast. We did that. And again, they said, well, there's something on the left side. It's very small, about 0.7 centimeters or something, but we need to do a guided, an ultrasound and then a guided biopsy if needed. And I'm like, okay. So I go in for another one, MRI, and that's what they told me. And then I schedule a biopsy, and the doctor, a new doctor who I just seen, she just said, well, we do see something there, but again, it's probably benign because you're young, and that's common. That's something I heard very often was it's common for younger women to have fibroids.
Fibroids, yeah.
Or cysts. And then, and so they're trying to be positive the whole time. And then she said, well, we see something, but because of your history and what happened with the other one, we're going to biopsy. And she did it right there. I did a guided ultrasound core biopsy. And then the very next week, my Dr. O'Malley calls me again on the phone. And I told him, call me either way. And I was at work, and I just went outside and went for a walk, and I talked to him. And he was, again, he's like, well, that's cancerous too. I'm like, you know what? I was kind of expecting that. He's like, you were? He's like, I wasn't. I'm like, I don't know. I just had a feeling. He's like, I don't know. But, so.
Well, I just want to say that, like, big kudos to you for, like, it all feels like a real intuitive journey too. You know what I mean? Like, just the talk with your aunt, and then like you like deciding to check, and like, being really proactive. That's what I'm really getting from what you're sharing.
Yeah. And it's, and I really had to count on that this whole year. It's because no one gets to make these decisions for you. It's all up to you. And so it's, a few times were pretty rough, but it all worked out. I think someone asked me recently if I would have done anything different. And like, actually, no, because there's really, in my opinion, there was some really hard decisions where I could have went one way or the other, and then really, wondered if I went the wrong way, or, should have done something different. And I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. Well, let's, you just froze on me. Can you see me? Am I moving, or am I frozen for you? This is tough when, you can see. Okay, there you are. So let's fast forward. We can go back to the chronological story. That's okay. But where you are right now, where are you at this moment, as far as this journey? What have they said?
The doctor that said it was cancerous to me.
Uh-oh. It's all janky. Okay, there you are.
Okay.
You're back. Okay.
Right. But just a couple days earlier, I was told I was BRCA1 positive as well. So it made my decision very easy, in that we just had to get on because my doctor was getting worried about waiting. So now it's April 13th, and we set up the surgery for the bilateral mastectomy and reconstruction April 13th. And so I had that back in April, took time to go through all that, just finished chemo, what day is it? Thursday, 7 weeks ago yesterday.
Wow.
And so my hair is starting to grow.
How's that feel?
Kind of nice. I tried to color it.
Tell me about the thing there on your chest. What's that?
This is my port. That's what they use to deliver the chemo. Okay. And so I had this was my third surgery. And I had, what's the echo from? Is that me?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it just started. It's weird. Does it sound okay to you?
I can hear a little whistle when you talk a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So it's a port.
Yeah, they used it to deliver the chemo.
Okay.
So the third surgery, they actually, I did go under for that too, but they put in a tube. Of course, my mom watches a YouTube video the night before to watch it. It was all done. Good thing she didn't tell me about it, but they actually put a tube up in my neck here. And the tube goes all the way down
Wait,
to
your pop.
Phil-
I didn't actually hear or see any of that. I don't know if anybody else did.
Oh,
So there's a tube that goes up where?
there's the tube that connects to this port. So this is
Okay.
where they stick the needle in to deliver the chemo.
Right.
And the tube
Yeah.
goes up into my main artery in my neck,
Okay.
leads to my heart.
Wow.
And then it disperses everything in my body to deliver the chemo efficiently and basically kills all your cells, good and bad, which was what I had a really hard time with. But so I had to do that 4 times with 3-week breaks in between. And I understood that the more time in between, the harsher the treatment. So usually the first week was pretty bad and kind of was in bed for 3 to 4 days. And then just slowly recovered. Second week was a little bit better. Third week, I would get back to the gym a little bit. So I always tried to get a little bit of energy back to get me ready for the next one so that it didn't all build up towards the end. It was really important to me to try to stay healthy while I was going through it so it wouldn't totally knock me out. And then, I'm still working half-time, or have been since a month after my surgery in May. And, but that all went, the first one was pretty rough. I didn't know how my body was going to handle it. And, lots of crazy stuff happens. You don't know how to explain it. The good thing is I had my cousin with me every step of the way this year. She's always texting me or calling me to ask me how the next side effect is going. It's kind of comedic. It's like we lost our hair on the exact same day, and because we had the same drugs, and so
Wow.
at least there was that.
Wow. Well, you're definitely a silver linings kind of gal. I have the pleasure of knowing you personally, and you've just been an inspiration to everyone. Like your attitude about this whole thing, and what I've really appreciated is your willingness to be open about what's happening.
Right.
I've had other friends who have gone through similar things that have really shut down, right? And kind of withdrawn and didn't want anybody to know what was going on and wasn't out there. And you've always been, out there and shaving your head and just like doing all letting us be a part of your journey and letting us ask questions and not feeling bad. Like I never saw you during this whole thing as a victim at all. You really, stayed in your power with it. And wow, I just have the utmost respect for you and what you've been through.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was, it hit me so hard out of nowhere. And I'm like, people need to know about the kinds of things that can happen. It's not, the same for every person, but that's just it. You don't know. And I've had, people tell me that they had maybe felt a lump, but they waited. Someone actually, while I was in LA just this last time, in the break room, she told me that she had found a lump too, but she waited like 6 months to go in, and she was at stage 3. She still kicked cancer's ass and is fine, but that's just the difference. I stayed stage 1, caught it before it spread to my lymph nodes, and I remember asking, everyone to help me, get that result. But it's I caught it. I think the reason that by just going in so quickly right away when I found the lump, it probably saved me a lot of extra pain and possible worse outcome, because like on my left side it was actually a triple negative diagnosis, and it was, I found out way later that there was actually cancer cells starting to travel down the blood cells towards my lymph nodes, and they were really aggressive. So I didn't I didn't know how long it took for them to develop, and I didn't know, how long before it would have gotten anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, so I guess your, a big message from you is first of all to check, right?
Yeah.
And then if you find anything, to get help right away, get looked at right away.
Figure out, as soon as you can, whether it's benign or cancerous. And I felt like I was ready during that first surgery in January to accept either result.
Mm-hmm.
And, either way I had to accept it, but it just took me by surprise the next week and wasn't quite as prepared, mentally, but it was, even close friends. I think it was my golf coach mentioned something, because I still went to all my golf lessons in January. I was going like 3-4 times a week. And he said, he's like, your attitude with all this, because I told him I had to be off from that surgery. And he was like, you're just taking it really well. I'm like, what else am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to quit doing anything just because it might be a bad outcome, And then after it was a bad outcome, I said, well, I'm not going to take things off my calendar. But it means I have events to go to. And
I have events to go to. Hilarious.
Because I made the mastermind, 4 weeks after my surgery. No, 2.5 weeks after my surgery. And I've made every golf tournament that I wanted to this year. I qualified. I had to win 2 tournaments to qualify for finals, which is in October 30th and 31st of this month. So it's kind of perfect that it's happened in breast cancer awareness. But I thought it was going to be hard to qualify this year. And that was before I was diagnosed. But my first tournament was 9 weeks after my surgery. Second tournament was semifinals. It was 11 days after my second chemo. And I just had like huge obstacles. I'm like, okay, I need to get better. I need to get my lessons in. Because I went to golf lessons in 100-degree heat just to prepare for that semifinals. And then my last part of this is the final reconstruction, because I had temporary expanders put in when I had the surgery back in April, and they've been great placeholders. So they pump them up just to give you a feel for it, to stretch the muscle and skin and give you a feel for what size you want to be comfortable with. And I was always so worried about
your swing.
My golf swing, staying tech. Like, I have things I gotta do.
Yeah. You're so funny. Okay.
So I had so much time to recover after chemo, and
so has it affected your golf swing?
You've heard of chemo brain, right?
Chemo brain. I have heard of it. I don't understand it.
So it makes things a little bit foggy, or you're just not clear on some things, or forget things. I don't know. It's just, I'm sure we've all had these symptoms without chemo before.
Right.
So my swing has become like a little bit easier.
It's become easier.
I don't think as much. And I was joking. I said, well, I might have to stay on this chemo if it's doing
it's helping.
Because
your secret weapon.
A lot of times golfers will think too much,
yeah.
Or me, and try to analyze too much while they're swinging. But I would just get out there and like, ooh, I'm golfing. I can see it, and I just hit it. So it was just more. I mean, just lucky to be golfing this year, and I just took it as I got it, and really didn't stress over that. I had other things that could take that up, but so then I asked how much recovery time I'd need for the final surgery. My doctor said something about about 2 weeks, and maybe like computer work at 4 weeks. I'm like, oh, good, because I have a golf tournament that I might have to get ready for if I qualify. He's like, no, I didn't say golf. I said like computer work. Like, well, I think we might have to postpone it until November. Which we did.
Yeah. Well, so you still have some things coming up, of course. Yep. We only have like about 4 more minutes here to spend, but I wanted to ask you, as we go into Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and and many of us have friends and acquaintances and coworkers and so forth that are experiencing cancer, breast cancer, or other kinds of cancer. As someone who's going through this whole process, what's the best thing that we can do? Like sometimes, as a friend or an observer, you don't even really know what to say or what to do. Like it's kind of awkward situation for a lot of people. What is your reaction to that?
You mean if you have a friend that's going through this?
Yeah, a friend, or even just someone that you know, like that's someone that you work with that you might not be that really close to, but they come in, they don't have any hair, or you've heard that they have cancer and they're dealing with it. What really is the best way to deal with that, in your opinion?
Well, I've had, I guess since I've been so open, people know that they can come up to me. Mm-hmm. But I've still had some people say they're worried about what to say to me, and I've just reassured a few people. I'm like, don't worry about it with me, and as I just talk freely. And but I do notice, some people that I guess they don't know as well. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. Like just to show support, and I smile or walk up. And I remember going to Nashville. I had just started, my hair was shaved, but I just started to lose, like I took a shower and all this just came out. So it was really white and I still had some hair. And I went to walk up to this OTF studio because I like visiting studios in other cities, but it wasn't open yet. And I think people that know someone that has gone through it or is just going through it are more like aware of it.
Right.
They might do something, but the gal that was sitting there at the table asked me when I came up because I just wanted to check out the studio and say hi. And she's like, "Are you going through something, or have you? Do you just recently go through something?" And I just said, "Yeah, I just started my chemo, and and then just talked to her a little bit about what was happening, and talked to her about like how Orange Theory Fitness has helped me and through different stages of recovery. And so it was really kind of cool. But her mom had just finished breast cancer as well,
so she
yeah,
she knew a little something. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, if you see someone without hair, don't assume, because there's a lot of people that came up to me and said, "Oh, I like your haircut," and they thought I was doing a fashion statement or something. And I just like,
yeah,
courtesy of chemo.
Next, I'm gonna tattoo the side of my face.
Yeah, and there's some things that you probably should say to a bald chick, but I went to Vegas for my sister's wedding just a few weeks ago, and I was walking out of the MGM Grand. There's a guy walking next to me, and he just says, he's like, "Why do you shave your hair? It's like such the maintenance to keep that shaved." I'm like, actually it isn't. And I was like, "Yeah, I pretty see chemo again." It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, "Are you okay? You doing okay?" And start talking to me. But like, yeah, just don't assume.
People are so funny. Well, that's why I'm asking, because they're. Yeah. I remember one time, I think it was in a hotel lobby, and there was a mom and her little kid. And I think they were waiting for somebody that might have been up at the counter or something. But anyway, and she was completely bald, and she was trying to have some bandana, trying to like kind of cover her head a little bit. And she was obviously really, really sick. Like, she looked sick. And so she started a conversation with me and was all around her kid and things. And my heart really went out to her, but I was not sure, do people really want to talk about it? Is it a relief to talk about it, or is it embarrassing to talk about, or is it, you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't really know what to say to her. And I just remember thinking, wow, maybe I could even say that, like I really wanted her to know I cared about her, and I was sending her light and love and things. But even that, the whole assumption, like I know myself, I wouldn't want to be seen as like poor me or anything like that. Yeah. So it's kind of a tender little area.
Yeah, I actually appreciate that when someone will ask, like, are you okay talking about it? I'm like, yeah, completely. And it's, a couple people that I didn't know that well have asked that. And so, yeah, you could do at least that.
Well, it's like the elephant in the room, right? It's like...
Yeah, because sometimes, well, and also sometimes, I remember I had just had my third chemo treatment, and there was an event here in Sacramento I wanted to go to. It was a 2-day event, but it was kind of during my bad times, and I didn't know if I'd be ready, but I went anyway, and I was feeling really out of it, and then I remember I ended up talking to someone about it, and that but then she's like, you look so healthy, and like, it doesn't look like anything's wrong with you. And then I'm like, but I was feeling completely out of it, and I almost didn't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel miserable.
But thank you.
Like, I got a little sympathy, actually.
Oh,
So
well, thank you, Carey.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story with us. And at the beginning of this month, at our dojo, we're going to give away for anybody who donates. We're going to give them pink belts to wear instead of their different color belts. And we're also going to have a big party and fundraiser for a kickboxing class. We're going to get in a DJ and have a big, crazy, fun time. Again, just to get awareness and get people to start thinking, and especially women with breast cancer to at least do the self-examinations and make sure that they're getting in to get checked. And that's the first thing that we can do is monthly check our breasts, and then but also go in for the mammograms. It was just my case that it didn't show up because it was too dense. Yeah. Cool. Well, and that you stayed on and you listened to your intuition. I think that's also a great message to give to women. It's like, what are you feeling about it? Then get it checked. Keep getting things checked until you feel like that you've exhausted that. So thank you so much. And thank you everybody who's been in the room or is watching on our replay. Can people get a hold of you, Carey? And the App Chicks, how can they get hold of you? Yeah, theappchicks.com. App Chicks, the App Chicks. Yep. Can you type it in the comments there? Theappchicks.com. If you need an app, then you want to check out the App Chicks. And if you send any message or want to get a hold of me or connect with me, the contact form will go directly to me. And of course, I'm on Twitter. I do see messages that come through on Twitter, just not on there regularly. At the App Chick on Instagram. If you want to take a look at my story throughout the year, my journey, and Facebook too. Your Facebook is you seem to be pretty active on there. Yeah. I'll just type a couple of those, and then Facebook is probably Carey J. I'm guessing. Cool. Something. There you go. Okay, cool. Type my name and you find me somewhere. Great. Well, thanks, Carey. And I will definitely be seeing you later. Yep. And you take care. Thank you so much for getting on this blab with me. I appreciate it. Definitely. Okay. Thanks for asking. Bye. Okay. Thanks, Hen. Bye.